The NCAA has outlined serious violations committed by the Southern Mississippi basketball team. I'm Darren Haynes. For more on this story, let's welcome in ESPN.com college basketball reporter Eamonn Brennan. Eamonn, what are some of these serious violations?
Well, I mean, they really run the gamut, and they're primarily focused on former coach Donnie Tyndall, who was the coach at Tennessee until this past season when he was fired and Rick Barnes replaced him. They are pretty much everything you could do as a coach to get in trouble with the NCAA in this day and age, from current and former employees of the school when Tyndall was there. Academic credits, giving financial aid personally to players in the form of gift. And I think the big one is what the NCAA calls obstructing the governing body's investigation, which is, in this case, Donnie Tyndall allegedly deleting emails that were pertinent to the case the NCAA was building against him at Southern Miss. And that's relevant. And anyone who's familiar with Tennessee basketball over the last 5 years can remember Bruce Pearl being sort of shuffled off and given a show cause penalty for lying to the NCAA about a photo, and then going back in the next day realizing that was a mistake and trying to get it corrected. Didn't matter. He lied to the NCAA. Obstructing their investigation in a pretty blatant way like this is about as bad as you can make in this day and age of NCAA enforcement.
Donnie Tyndall, who was the basketball coach during the time of these violations, you talk about Tennessee. He went there for 1 year, and then now his job is over there. So talking about Tyndall, how has he responded to these violations that occurred during his tenure at Southern Miss?
Well, he's released a statement. The statement is pretty much what you'd expect. He apologized to Southern Miss. He also denied knowledge of violations, said he was surprised and disappointed. But, it's one of those things where there's not a whole lot that you can say. I mean, in a termination letter that Tennessee sent to Donnie Tyndall in March, Tennessee athletic director Dave Hart basically said it's likely that this is going to happen. Tennessee knew things like this were going to come down, which is why they parted ways with Donnie Tyndall. And Hart even specifically said, as the AP reported today, that Tyndall acknowledged deleting emails from his prior account, and Hart's letter said those emails could have been relevant to the NCAA's investigation of Southern Miss or compliance with NCAA rules, end quote. So, there's not a whole lot Donnie Tyndall can say. He can appeal and he can see the case out, but the odds are, I think, that he's going to be given a show cause penalty and he's not going to be allowed to be a college basketball coach for some period of years, whether that's 3 years or 5 years or maybe even longer.
All right, well, Tyndall's not at Southern Miss anymore, so that just now leaves just the school itself. What's their next move? How are they responding to this?
I think one of the really interesting things about this, and my main takeaway from it, is things are so closely tied to the coach rather than the school. Nowadays, when you see scandals like this, and they're not super frequent, but when they happen, you typically see a school really dreading the institutional control penalty, because the head coach is typically, whether he actually is or not, outwardly sort of at a remove from everything. It's a rogue assistant coach who did this, or it's a booster, or it's someone in the athletic department, but it's never actually the head coach. And that plausible deniability really isn't here, to the point, I think, that this stuff is so closely tied to the head coach that the school, I think that's probably part of the reason why they escaped the lack of institutional control situation. So moving forward, I think Southern Miss is probably pretty happy with this situation. As bad as it is that this happened at their school and their athletics program, the fact that they didn't get that penalty, which really is a severe one and can mean, not only probation, but several years of NCAA tournament ban, loss of scholarships. There may be still some of that for Southern Miss, but the fact that they don't have that formal charge to worry about is a big plus, given how bad the situation is otherwise.
That is ESPN college basketball reporter Eamonn Brennan with the latest on the violations committed by the Southern Mississippi basketball team. For more on this story, just keep it on the college basketball page on ESPN.com.